And now, marine weather around Alaska.
Moving on to tonight's weather. Next system out here in the Bering Sea dropping southeastward. That'll spread rain into the Pribilof Islands and down into the Aleutians here. Drying out behind it, drier in advance of that with some weak high pressure here building up and knocking the winds down, almost becoming light and variable tonight for the southwest coast and Alaska Peninsula. A trough mostly in the upper air right through this area where the dashed line is. Look for some showers along that, light showers. Otherwise just showers scattered around the east side here, mostly from the Tanana Valley where they're pretty isolated on up to the Arctic coast. And a weak trough now keeping a chance of some moisture there for the coastal areas of the Panhandle. Up along the North Gulf Coast, and some light showers continue for Prince William Sound. Next system onto the chart here tonight moves right up toward the Queen Charlottes tomorrow afternoon. A little bit, just a shade farther south than what we thought it was going to do yesterday, but still coming up close enough here that see a significant increase in the winds and rain over the southern southeast coast. Sunshine possibly up to the north, and drier now, maybe a dry day, at least in part for the North Gulf Coast and the Prince William Sound. Otherwise, mostly cloudy, scattered showers over the interior areas, maybe mostly sunny skies right under that ridge there for Bristol Bay, and partly to mostly sunny or cloudy for Kodiak Island. Should be dry there as well tomorrow, and northeast and north interior there looking pretty dry out to the Arctic coast. This system continues southeastward here, so it keeps the Pribilof Island, St. Matthew Island in the wet zone there, right down into the Alaska Peninsula, spreading east and southeast. Chance of moisture reaches the southwest coast late in the afternoon tomorrow. Some showers behind the front there, diminishing as you head west. And then for Friday, kind of elongated low here, one center up here just south of Nunivak Island, then a trough down to the south there. So still periods of light rain, Pribilof Islands, now into the Kuskokwim Delta and southern Yukon Delta area. Light rain into Bristol Bay, some of that now slipping on up into Kodiak Island there, and then drying out to the west, Adak and Atka, increasing chance of some sunshine through the day. And a little bit better over the interior, just some isolated showers scattered around with some increasing chances for sunshine. South central Alaska loses showers completely here for the North Gulf Coast and Prince William Sound. And then over to near Yakutat, and this trough here coming in, bringing another round of rain into the Panhandle, rain and showers. And for the coastal water forecast for the south coast here, east to southeast winds, 20 to 25 knots here, and southeast 25 for Clarence Strait. Otherwise, the central and north coast, easterlies 15 to 20 knots. Lynn Canal, southeast at 10, 15 knots southeasterlies for Stevens Passage. And then for the day Friday, the south coast of the Panhandle looking at west winds 20 to 25 knots. South winds at 20 knots there for the for Clarence Strait, and then northwest winds 15 knots for Lynn Canal and Stevens Passage, with west winds at 15 to 20 knots for the central coast, west-northwest at 15 knots for the north coast. And for Prince William Sound tomorrow, on Thursday, east winds 15 knots, and variable winds for the North Gulf Coast anywhere from 10 to 15 knots. Small craft advisories here, Kamishak Bay and the Barren Islands, west-northwest winds at 30 knots, and northeast to northwest winds 10 to 15 knots for Cook Inlet. And then for the day on Friday, Cook Inlet, south to southwest breeze at about 10 knots. Light variable winds for Kamishak Bay, southwest 15 for the Barren Islands. North Gulf Coast, west winds at 15 knots with 3 to 4 foot seas, and light variable winds in Prince William Sound. Kodiak Island, good small craft advisories out tomorrow for northwesterlies at 30 knots with 5 to 7 foot seas. Otherwise, west-southwest winds here at 20 knots for the Alaska Peninsula, northwest at 20 for Bristol Bay. And then the day on Friday, here for the Pacific side of the peninsula, winds will be southwest at 15 knots. Light and variable on the Bering Sea side with 5 foot seas. And Bristol Bay, south at 15 knots, seas 4 feet. Kodiak Island, south to southwest winds there at 15 to 20 knots. Eastern Aleutians tomorrow, west-southwest winds 20 to 25 knots, seas 5 to 8 feet. Central Aleutians, west at 25 knots, and western Aleutians, same forecast, west winds 25 knots. Seas throughout these areas here running anywhere from 6 to 11 feet. And then for Friday, for the western Aleutians here, northwest winds 15 to 25 knots, and 30-knot northwest winds for Adak and Atka with 9 to 12-foot seas. And for the Fox Islands, west-northwest 20 to 30 knots, seas running 8 to 13 feet. And for the southwest coast here, east winds tomorrow 15 to 20 knots, light north winds at 10 knots for Norton Sound and St. Lawrence Island, and pretty brisk east wind here for the St. Matthew Island area at 30 knots with 10-foot seas, southwest 20 for the Pribilof, seas 7 feet. And then for the day on Friday, Pribilof Islands, northwest winds 25 knots, seas at 10 feet, north at 25 for St. Matthew Island. And the Kuskokwim Delta coast, east at 20 knots, northeast at 20 knots for the Yukon Delta coast with 4-foot seas through here. Light north winds at 10 for Norton Sound and northeast at 10 for St. Lawrence Island. Eastern Beaufort Sea coast tomorrow. West winds 10 to 15 knots, seas around 3 feet, northwest at 10 on the central coast. Those seas also about 3 feet, and north at 10 for the western coast with 3-foot seas. Chukchi Sea a little breezier there with north winds at 15 to 20 knots and the seas running around 4 feet. Outlook for Friday, north winds 15 to 25 knots here for the Chukchi Sea with 3 to 6-foot seas. North at 10 for the western Arctic coast, northwest at 10 for the central coast with 2-foot seas, and the eastern Beaufort Sea coast, west winds 15 knots with 3-foot seas.